You're watching Reality Check. Today was a day when a massive series of protests had been planned across India against the government's controversial and discriminatory citizenship law. But the protests in more than one state ran into India's quasi-curfew laws, imposed as increasingly the norm for no reason. Section 144, or orders which prevent the gathering of large people because of the fear of a breach of peace, is a dangerous instrument in the hands of the state. It can create a pressure cooker which can turn potentially peaceful protests violent. Now, it was imposed in 3 areas of Karnataka from anywhere from 1 day to 3 days to indefinitely, including in the city of Bangalore, which is hardly known for violent protests. Also imposed in Mangalore and Kalburgi in the north of Karnataka. Now, for the most part, as you'll see from these visuals, the protests in Karnataka were peaceful. People protested, they defied restrictions. But in Mangalore, violence has erupted, where curfew has been imposed, and police, and let's listen, had to fire in the air. Again, Section 144 imposed in Delhi's northeast district, in the Red Fort area, in Jantar Mantar, the main hubs where protesters gather. Again, protests here were peaceful, which is what the protesters had planned from the beginning, as these visuals will shortly tell you on the screen, that you actually had young protesters symbolically offering roses to Delhi police. Also, Section 144 in 44 districts of Madhya Pradesh. Remember, most of these impositions have been in states that are BJP-run states where the BJP controls, or the center controls the police force, as in Delhi. But 44 of the 52 districts, is this excessive? Violence only in one district of Khandwa. And also, perhaps most dramatically, quasi-curfew across all of Uttar Pradesh, which with 200 million people is almost a country as large as Brazil. Again, as one can see from these images, these are political protests. It appears largely peaceful for the most part. But unfortunately, parts of Lucknow have erupted in violence, and also Sambhal in western Uttar Pradesh have erupted in violence, and the news coming in that one person may have actually died in Lucknow in an alleged firearm injury. 4 people admitted to hospital, the police denying any role in the killing or the death of that one individual. Also, Section 144 in Ahmedabad. Now, Ahmedabad, Section 144 has been in place since 2002, the year of the Gujarat riots. It's been virtually on and off for 17 years. But here too, excessive. You can see these images of protesters defying the imposition of 144. They're protesting, but there has been a clash or clashes in parts of Ahmedabad where it did turn violent, as we can see on the screen. Now, the courts have repeatedly tried to define the limits of this colonial era law, given its long history of misuse. The courts have said that you can't arbitrarily use 144. The Constitution allows for reasonable restrictions, but the government must show a clear, direct threat to public order. 144 just can't be invoked on the apprehension of disturbance. But in all these cases, no clear reason cited. Instead, tweets from the Uttar Pradesh police announced a declaration of prohibitory orders across the state, simply saying Section 144 is in force and no permission for any gathering has been given for this particular date. Please don't participate. Parents are requested to counsel their children not to turn up for protests. The Bangalore police also, in their notification, again very generic, just simply saying to prevent any unnecessary law and order situation, a directive was issued to impose Section 144 in Bangalore. Across India, protest gatherings were denied permission as well, again for no discernible reason, like the plans to take out a peaceful march through the heart of Delhi denied permission by simply saying in the police letter the request could not be accepted from the law and order, security and traffic point of view. This is for a request for a peaceful protest. It gets even more bizarre. Those trying to enter Delhi from Gurgaon today ran into a massive lockdown at the Delhi-Gurgaon border. Just look at those dystopian images of the gridlock. People were told, anecdotally they were told by the police who were manning the barricades, that Section 144 has been put in place in the Delhi-Haryana border. We don't even know if that's true or not. Also remember, the law prevents the gathering of 5 people or more, but even those who may have been standing singly were picked up, including prominent historian Ram Guha in Bangalore.
और ये क्या मतलब है पुलिस वालों का? तो आगे आप क्या करेंगे?
In fact, now what has become a familiar Jugalbandi, 144 also allows for the government to shut down the internet as it did in parts of Delhi, again in a seemingly arbitrary manner. The notification simply said the request could not be acceded to from the law and order, security and traffic point of view, and therefore the internet shut down. As a result, India is now notorious for its shutdowns of a total of 196 worldwide internet shutdowns in the period of 2018. This has been counted by Access Now. India has 134, almost 70% of all internet shutdowns in 2018 have been because of India. So, a big question mark there over the nature of the decision to impose Section 144 and whether that can actually become a trigger for a confrontation, where perhaps a confrontation may not have been on the cards. Okay, before I go to panel, let me just go across to Faizan Mustafa, who's of course the VC of the Nalsar University in Hyderabad. I spoke to him earlier and I began by asking him exactly what does 144 permit? Aren't there restrictions on the manner in which you can use it?
Srinivas, first of all, we should understand that when it comes to crowd control, we are being governed by the colonial law of 19th century, 1860 Indian Penal Code and then Police Act of 1861. Even 144 was also there in the old CRPC. I saw today some channels were saying that this is the law which came in 1973. It has been there earlier also. So the point is that the law says that there may be a situation where an executive magistrate thinks that he should not permit under the area of his local jurisdiction assembly of 5 or more people. Now that order normally should operate for 2 months. I am not sure what happened in UP and in several other places.
Yes.
Because I think about a month before Babri Masjid judgment,
yes,
this order was passed and it has been in use for some time.
Yes.
It is only in extraordinary situation at the expiry of 2 months that the state government has to issue an order. So once there is 144, the assembly of 5 or more people will become an illegal, unlawful assembly. I remember that there was a judgment from Gujarat High Court where somebody has issued shoot at sight orders under 144.
Right.
And that was struck down by the Gujarat High Court, saying that it is absolutely unconstitutional. There cannot be any power with anybody to shoot and sight people like this.
Right. So essentially the point is that the threat has to be real, does it not? That you can't just simply impose it.
No, that is the point. I said in my first response that these laws were made when freedom of speech and expression was not there as a fundamental right. These laws were made when you did not have Article 19 Clause 1 Subclause B, which gives all citizens right to assemble peaceably without arms. Now, once there is a fundamental right, the law is absolutely clear that a fundamental right can be restricted only through reasonable restrictions. And any excessive restriction or an arbitrary restriction made just on some apprehension or assessment by the Director General of Police of the state for the whole state, I think will not be right if you go by the spirit of Article 19.
Right. And last question to you, that we are also finding the situation where you're not getting a clear reason cited. You're not even at times getting a notification about whether 144 has been imposed or not. It's just simply kind of announced. Is that legal?
Ideally, they should, and that's why now in modern times, when you have a website for the each district, it should be, displayed prominently on the website of the government for each district, at the district magistrate's website or some other website, city magistrate's website, because you need to use technology. Earlier, you could have announced it through loudspeaker that now 144 is enforced, nobody should, gather in higher numbers of 5 or more. But today this is possible. So the transparency which is expected from the government is that any such law should not be vague.
Yeah.
It should be specific.
Right.
It should be an speaking order. And then it should be prominently available for people to download and see for themselves today.
All right, Faizan Mustafa, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the show today. Also joining us here in the studio, Neeja Chaudhary, senior journalist. We have Shadan Farasat, advocate, Supreme Court, Apar Gupta, lawyer and executive director, Internet Freedom, and last but not least, Vivek Reddy, BJP leader. Neeja, if I could just start with you, that, the BJP, which is such a strong controlling government, now with this kind of almost arbitrary use of 144, and you see people still trying to protest, there have been clashes, unfortunately deaths as well. It almost seems as if there's a sense where they're not able to control the situation. It's almost the script is slipping out of their hands.
It seems to me that somewhere the BJP had not reckoned with the kind of response that the CAA has evoked, and also on the fears on the NRC, because the two are clubbed together. If it had been just CAA, you might not have this kind of response. But the Home Minister has repeatedly said, followed by NRC. Now, secondly, in its second term, Narendra Modi government seems to be going for an overreach. And that is not here only. What you're saying, 144, basic to democratic rights. For if you don't allow people to protest, to say what they have to, you're absolutely right.
It's like a pressure cooker.
It's like a pressure cooker that's going to erupt. I hope that's not going to happen.
Yes.
But I hope the Prime Minister will take initiative and call for students to come. Listen to them. Call for the minorities, the Muslims. Why are you feeling so afraid? And this NRC, I don't see the reason for it.
Okay, we'll come to the NRC and whether it's a pointless exercise in a second. But Vivek Reddy, I mean, you're a Bangalorean. Section 144 for what, almost 3 days in Bangalore? Seriously, Vivek Reddy?
Well, it has been there many times before. This is not the first time. Many times before.
But,
so we
how
need not debate that this is something new, because
but how does that justify? I'm saying, what's the apprehension? What's the reason to slap Section 144 in Bangalore? The commissioner gave no credible explanation.
Well, that's because of what's happened in Delhi. In Delhi, there was rioting, buses were burned, there was damage to public property.
But Vivek,
the rioters took petrol from
Vivek, that's an extraordinary argument. Bangalore is not the same as Delhi. Vivek, you're a lawyer. Vivek, you're a lawyer as well, my friend. You understand how Section 144 works. It can't be arbitrary. You say, oh, there's a terrorist
Vasu,
attack in
these
Kashmir,
are-
I'm going to impose 144 in
These
Kanyakumari. It doesn't
are
work like that.
precaution- No, there is a threat that these protesters may resort to this. They may have had the intelligence also. And there have been examples where this has been done in Delhi. So they have resorted to these precautionary measures, Vasu, because without that they cannot control law and order. And after all, what is
But
144?
how do
there
you, but
for? It is
Vivek,
there to ensure
isn't
public
it a right?
tranquility.
Okay, hold on, Vivek. You've been in opposition. You as a you have had the chance to protest. It's a democratic right to protest peacefully. How can you just slap it arbitrarily?
Well, are they exercising? Well, in Delhi, Vasu, as far as what you can see, as far as what people have been able to see,
But
do
I'm
you
asking
think
you about Bangalore.
The resort to looting and arson
Okay.
and rioting and damage to vehicles is a peaceful form of demonstration. Then we have to redefine what peace is.
I'm not asking you about Delhi. I'm asking you about Bangalore. You can't take,
apprehension.
you can't say
There are
violence
reports.
happened in part A of the country
There
to
are
impose it in
reports.
part B.
There
Then
are
you can't
reports
protest anywhere.
that
Then you
it
can
will
never
get
protest
violent.
anywhere. Okay.
There are
Shadhan
reports
Farasat.
that it will get
Yeah,
violent,
every
and they have
word
taken a
that
decision
Mr.
based on those reports.
Okay,
every
Vivek,
word
let
that
Shadhan,
Yeah,
who's
every
part
word
of
that
your
Mr.
fraternity,
Reddy
rebut.
just said is actually contrary to both the text of 144 and also the law. You can't do 144 as a precaution based on an apprehension. It has to be on imminent likelihood. It has to be imminent, clear that this will turn violent, like a spark in a powder keg. That's the language the Supreme
you
Court
do it
uses.
after the riot,
It can't
is it?
be that, oh, it's possible that they may turn violent, therefore I'll bar it in the entire district, or as some states have done, in the entire state. It's actually use of 144 literally to impose the emergency in this state. It's the exercise of a 352 power under the constitution, where in part of the country you impose
My friend,
emergency.
do you have
now,
the
just one
inputs?
second,
Are
Mr.
you
Reddy,
the
kindly,
intelligence?
please. Now, under
Vivek, I'll come to
140,
you.
under 144, each executive magistrate or a district magistrate has to come to a conclusion on his own. How has the all 80 districts in UP come to the same conclusion?
Yeah.
Is it not on dictation? Is it not contrary to the text of 144?
On a
It's
tweet.
a joke.
On a tweet.
This is the state's responsibility to give public tranquility in times of danger, when there is imminence of protest. And
Imminent of
I think
protest?
it's
danger of
absurd.
rioting.
This is contrary to everything
Danger
the
of
Supreme Court
rioting.
has said over the last
When there
70
is
years.
imminence
Every
of
word
rioting,
Mr. Reddy is
they have
saying
resorted to
saying
it.
is contrary
It
to
has
the law.
happened in Delhi.
Vivek.
There is possibility that it might spread.
Vivek,
It is a
how-
discretion
how
of the
can
magistrate.
you-
My
Vivek.
learned friend may be a Supreme Court lawyer, but he's not the magistrate.
No,
Please
no, one
leave it
second,
to the
Vivek.
magistrates to decide. Please
How
don't
can
interfere
you-
with their
but-
discretion.
And
Vivek.
magistrates have to decide as per the law. They can't decide as per their
They
will.
are deciding. How do you presume?
But
By sitting in
Vivek,
the studio?
just explain to me,
Will you
Vivek,
sit in
just
the
a second.
studio and presume?
Vivek, just explain
That's
to
the
me,
sad thing.
if the logic is that I am going to apprehend, because violence has happened in Delhi, I'm going to apprehend violence all over India, how do you then, how can anybody protest? You can shut down the whole country.
Yeah, we can have a national emergency
the
as per
protest-
Mr. Vivek Reddy's
the-
logic.
What
we
sort
should
of
have a
logic is
national
that?
emergency of the 1974 variety declared as per Mr. Vivek Reddy's logic.
Okay.
The experience shows that it has not been peaceful.
So
The
this experience
events have
is not
shown
present
that it has
in the
resulted in
orders.
rioting.
It's not present.
Wherever
The
this has
magistrates
happened.
are
I
not
can
reasoning
understand
it.
in Northeast
brick
Delhi.
throwing,
Can
what
I
is all
just
this?
clarify what is
This
the
is
law?
One second, that's a good point. One
Do you
second.
define this as peaceful?
Okay, Vivek, one second, one
Please
second. No one else is
redefine
getting a
what
word
is
in
peace.
edgewise.
So here's the
You're
thing.
saying that the
Let's-
that
let's-
the, that
let's-
this or,
let's-
that the
let's
orders don't
presume-
refer to
let's-
the violence
let's- yeah,
elsewhere.
let's just
Even in
presume what
UP,
Mr. Reddy is saying
even in the
is a credible
university,
reason
there
in
were
itself.
stones thrown.
He's
Is this
superimposing his own reasoning on the judgment of the magistrate. So even he should not step into the shoes of the magistrate. The magistrate has not stated these reasons. So, Mr. Reddy, where are you getting these facts from?
This is a good point, Vivek. This is a good point.
Let's
because
just
if you
stick with the
see,
facts here.
if you can put up, if you
Sir,
can
what
put up on the
happened
one
in
second,
Aligarh
Vivek.
Muslim
If you can just
University?
put up on
What happened
screen,
in AMU?
if you can put up on screen
There
the
were
tweets
stones
by
and
the
bricks
Uttar
thrown
Pradesh
at the
police.
police at the
If you
time
can
of
put up on
protest.
screen
Is
the
this
tweets by the
voluntary and
Uttar
peaceful?
Pradesh police
Apar
and
Gupta,
by the Bangalore police.
Let us not be deceived by the facts.
Vivek,
Please don't mislead.
Vivek.
This
By
is a
seeing
case.
One second.
mislead and the facts, they don't become the facts. You can't say facts,
Vivek,
facts, facts,
Vivek,
and they
Don't
become
throw
the
in.
facts.
Vivek,
Do you
the-
say stone throwing at AMU is
Vivek.
an exercise of
And therefore we will
right
shut
peaceful
down Bangalore.
demonstration?
There's no throwing in AMU and therefore
you
we shut
saying
down
that?
Bangalore.
You're wasting
Are you
air
saying
time.
that-
Okay,
This is
okay,
our
okay,
argument.
okay.
You're wasting air
One
time,
time, one at a
Vivek.
time, one at a time, and we must also allow Nirja to come in. Vivek, the point is that what you are citing as reasons for the shutting down
It's
of
not there.
of other parts of the country are not mentioned even in the reasons cited by the Bangalore police, by the UP police. They're not even referring to those incidents you're referring to. That's the point.
Well, they will have intelligence. They will be acting on the basis of reports of imminent threat to public tranquility, of imminent threat of looting and arson. So we can't sit here and decide based on vague information.
Nirja,
that's what I'm saying.
Is this a political risk also for the BJP? Because the BJP was always seen as a party that was the first to be on the streets, and now this side, this more authoritarian image side which is coming out, they are trying to, in a sense, almost control a public backlash against them. But could that politically backfire if it continues?
Yeah,
like
because
this?
the logic of what Vivek Reddy is saying is that there can never be a protest, because you'll always, in a general way, apprehend it may get out of hand.
Exactly.
So the district magistrates have to be prepared for that. See, there has to be logic to it. But coming to what you are asking,
yes, is this?
You know what should worry the BJP is that young India, so many campuses have reacted the way they have. And that's not just Muslim young people, that is the Hindus and others also reacting.
Yeah.
And Mr. Modi's effort has been to get the millennials, 18 to 21, 22, 23, on his side. He's managed that. He's managed it in 2014 as also in 2019. One of the reasons why they got 303.
But now the campuses are all
in uproar, and this is something that should really worry them, particularly because 50% of India is under 25.
Supporting this act. Much of India is supporting it, unlike what Neeraj is trying to project.
Well, this is one way to say it's only 22 campuses. 22 campuses matter.
Yes.
Should matter in the BJP scheme of
things. Not the whole of India.
But what about the internet though? What about the internet? Because Apar, if you can comment on the internet, that now we have reached a situation, we just saw those statistics, that's for 2018, I'm sure you'll have updated data. And I believe Washington Post reporting that the longest continuous, longest internet shutdown by a democracy, India now holds that dubious record because of Kashmir.
The thing is, we have the longest serving internet shutdowns arguably. We have the highest frequency. So we are topping those metrics. But let's just look at what's the legal architecture here which is imposed. It's not section 144 only in isolation.
Right.
It's also provisions of the Telegraph Act. And what's slowly been happening is that the internet, when it first came in, it was giving ability for people to voice their opinion freely. Now there are also risks which occur. And what you notice is, especially the people who are really young and who are organizing, they're using the internet not only to organize protests, but also to do two additional things. One is to actually devise their political messaging, in which they're using it in very creative ways to publish art, to actually make the protests much more meaningful politically in terms of what they want to actually say and articulate their demand. This is a core democratic value which is being actually furthered by the internet. And the second thing, which they are doing, and which is very valuable through the internet, in addition to organizing, is actually holding the responses which are coming from the state proportionate, and they are documenting any state excesses. I think this is all democratic. This is why the internet should be continued in places which are seeing protests.
Right. Vivek, last word from you. I mean, digital India, right? That was the big promise. Now it's 70% internet shutdowns world over in digital India. Surely you're not.
Well,
you can't be on the side of that, Vivek Reddy.
Well, it has happened only because of Article 370 in Kashmir. It was a necessity in order to control the situation and ensure there is peace and tranquility.
It's all over the country, Vivek.
Isolated pockets. Please don't take the template for the entire country. The problem is, once we take it for a few places or isolated places, we say it is over the country. It's not so now.
Delhi had one. It's not isolated.
So a necessity arose. Sometimes the internet will have to be blocked up only because they have to maintain peace and tranquility.
Vivek, all these arguments.
Bombay also listening to what he's saying.
Vivek, all these arguments, Vivek, can come back to you one day when you are the other side of the divide. So they have to
voluntary demonstration, peaceful.
I hope
You have to be on the
Peaceful
side.
demonstration.
You can't be on the
Mangla
side
and
of.
Dalal
Ask
Street
the
are hearing your
rioters
statements.
to
You can't be on the
Internet
side
can
of
be turned
a
off.
colonial. You can't be on the side of
Peaceful
144.
The
Okay.
advice you must give is to the rioters that they must be peaceful. Then everything will be open.
Writers will never be peaceful. They are you know,
They are writers.
protesters.
That is why.
Writers are
Writers
writers.
are writers,
Protesters
but-
who you are blocking.
Well,
not
Okay.
you're
writers.
right.
Okay, we'll
Well,
have to
you're
leave it
right.
there.
That is why the curb.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you all so much for joining us on Reality Check.